I don't know, what the future is going to hold.
T-Mac, in he goes. Look out.
He can do everything.
Radiant for the win. Yao!
Another first round defeat.
I tried my best. I tried, man.
Once equaled Kobe Bryant, years later, after a handful of first-round exits and non-stop injuries, McGrady sat on the bench at 32 years old as an overqualified bench warmer. His prime gone, talent wasted, watching those he thought he'd compete with now outlast him. This wasn't the McGrady that could jump out the gym or meticulously sever his way to 32 points a game in every possible way on the court. But it was a threatening combination of career-ending injuries and his own playoff failures that intertwined into a confusing legacy of an all-time great talent that could never get over the hump, a first-round hump. 25th of June 1996, Tracy McGrady just turned 18 years old and had been picked 9th overall by the Toronto Raptors. He followed the likes of Kobe Bryant and Kevin Garnett coming straight out of high school into the NBA. The raw but talented prospect now faced the pressure of foregoing valuable college experience to take his shot in the majors.
So is he ready?
Yet McGrady wasn't focused on immediate success, instead prepared to be a great player not now, but down the road. The 6'8" guard was filled with potential. A 40-inch vertical, the peak of his athleticism, but a flawed release on his jump shot left room for improvement in his early years, comparing him to a young Scottie Pippen, who similarly had flawed parts of his game. The Raptors just hoped McGrady could fill out his shoes in a similar way to Scottie. But under head coach Darrell Walker, the youngest player in the league was given little opportunity. Through the first 30 games, he played in only 17 of them, averaging only 5 points. Walker was thus prepared to ship off McGrady and others to Philadelphia for Jerry Stackhouse, a deal which was essentially confirmed but fell through last minute. So McGrady, still learning the ropes of the NBA, was left puzzled, with his own trade talk so soon after being drafted, leaving doubts in his mind. A frustrated, lonely teenager in a strange city, racked up huge phone bills and slept as much as 20 hours a day. Mentally, he'd gone from 18 years old to around 26, learning that nobody was here to hold his hand. So quickly, his rookie year turned into a postgraduate one, but a season he could turn around once Walker had quit and Butch Carter was appointed as head coach. Coach Carter threw a lifeline at McGrady that if he stayed after practice every day for extra work, he would give him an additional 10 minutes a game at small forward and also use him for 10 minutes a game at shooting guard. At week's end, McGrady, who averaged 13 minutes under Walker, was averaging 22 under Carter. So whilst the team went 5-27 through the end of the year, McGrady matured in a hurry with his newfound minutes as one of the team's better players. Either way, following the dismal 97-98 season, McGrady was reunited with his cousin, Vince Carter, in the 98-99 season. After a hellish rookie season, McGrady's Raptors were now on the upswing, no one happier than McGrady himself. However, Vince would immediately take the starting small forward spot, digging into McGrady's minutes from day one. Stuck on the bench, it was another developmental year for McGrady and the Raptors. But him and Vince thought big, really big for the future, spouting dreams of becoming the next Jordan and Pippen. McGrady more than content to be the Pippen to Vince's Jordan. Well, for now. This was now a Raptor squad that had a certain swagger about them entering the 2000s, reincarnated in their famous dunk contest performance of 2000.
Oh, spectacular stuff! Connor with his first stop! Let's go home! Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen!
But around the trade deadline, McGrady's minutes were still down at 27 minutes for the now 20-year-old, who had endured 2.5 years of bench minutes and now wanted to take the leap from six-man to all-star. So rumours begun to linger if McGrady would remain a Raptor as he enters free agency this season.
McGrady knows he's going to receive a hefty payday as a free agent this summer. Question is where? Will it be in Canadian dollars or US?
It's no coincidence that McGrady's minutes then rose to 38 a game following the deadline in a clear bid to keep him on the team by fulfilling his wishes. However, it proved insignificant come the end of the year when the Raptors were swept by the Knicks, the first round blow of his career. Many wondered through the year about his stance on the Raptors despite their clear path to contention with their core. But having been complimentary to Vince and pushed aside through the year, McGrady wanted his chance at being Batman.
And so, to me, I was like, bruh, we both Batman. Like, we could do this together.
These are the conclusions you make when you're only 21 years old. So it was thus an easy choice for McGrady in the offseason, returning to hometown Florida with the Orlando Magic, joining forces with the new signing Grant Hill, making the Magic dark horse contenders if McGrady could develop into his superstar aspirations. It was the question the whole world wondered. His own coach Doc Rivers called it blind faith, giving the six-man McGrady All-NBA money. Rivers gave it a year or two for McGrady to fill out his potential. However, as Grant Hill incurred a season-ending injury early in the season, McGrady received an unexpected large role, showcasing his profound scoring talents as the superstar of the team, blossoming McGrady into a different stratosphere of player than what he'd previously shown, winning Most Improved Player, behind averages of 27 points, 8 rebounds and 5 assists, and an All-NBA second team and All-Star appearance. At 21, he was carrying the burden for the 6th youngest team in the league. Tracy, who was never a natural leader, was now given the keys to the franchise, forced to carry a woefully subpar team, and worst of all, having to play selfishly, when again the best thing about McGrady was his unselfishness. But selfishness was of course required through the first round. As the only shot maker on the roster, he took 34 and 31 shots in games 1 and 2 for 2 losses against the Milwaukee Bucks. There wasn't much he could do in this case. He looked anywhere for help but couldn't get it. But game 3 was his superstar postseason audition. Possession by possession, he dismantled the Bucks, including in the fourth quarter with the game on the line.
Once again, 42 points and 10 assists for Tracy McGrady, who did in fact carry this team on his shoulder tonight.
Although McGrady's game 3 was breathtaking, the Magic crumbled in game 4 to lose in the best of 5 series. Meanwhile, the Raptors ironically made it to the second round. The McGrady curse. But anyway, without their all-star Grant Hill, first round failure was expected for the Magic. But hopes were set higher for the following year, with Hill expected to have made a successful recovery. However, T-Mac's run of bad luck continued when Grant Hill went down with an ankle injury again. The Magic seethed at the season-ending departure of Hill, but McGrady once again carried a top 8 offense to 44 wins, one better than last year, finishing 4th in the MVP voting. Entering the playoffs, well, the 4th v 5th matchup wasn't entirely close from a talent perspective. Nobody other than T-Mac could crack Charlotte's starting 5, and the Hornets were favourites for a reason. But the Magic had a chance to flip public perception in game 1, up big in the 4th quarter. But T-Mac had undoubtedly the worst 8-minute stretch of his career. He missed a free throw to cut the lead to 1 with 2 minutes left, and then missed an open step back 3 for the lead. Then missed what would have been the game-tying free throw with 30 seconds left, and then got stripped on the final possession before he could get a shot up. A disastrous stretch in an important game 1. Ultimately, McGrady was playing with a sore back, the opposition even conceding McGrady wasn't even himself. But either way, it was himself, not the team, that prevented a game 1 win. Similarly, in game 2, McGrady put his team in a position to win through the first 3 quarters, but failed to register a field goal in the 4th quarter and overtime, overshadowed by clutch performances from his own teammates.
Shot clock at 7. Look at Hudson. He's unstoppable quickly into the lane.
But stop double teaming T-Mac, double team Troy Hudson, because right now he's carrying the Magic.
But even at 1-1, crucially at home, the heart of the Magic disappeared under pressure. T-Mac had just hit arguably the biggest shot of his career, but missed a bunny for the win.
How many times is he going to miss that layup?
And gassed out in overtime, not even registering a shot at all as the leading scorer of the team. But as average teams often experience, the inconsistent role players that thrived in the first 3 games vanished. McGrady guaranteed a game 4 win, but his game high 35 points rendered useless as the team could never close the gap on the Hornets, marking McGrady's second straight first round exit. Disappointing, sure, but not totally unexpected given the squad and opposition. Wincing with each step off the court was McGrady, only 22 years old, but with this pressure and workload, it wasn't sustainable. In the grand scheme of team success going into the 02-03 season, McGrady knew that the Magic's prospects hinged on Hill's left ankle. He could only take the team so far, and filling in the rest was out of his control. But as expected in heartbreaking fashion, Grant Hill went down in January, and T-Mac had it all to do. For the third year running, it was all on him. He promised to lead his team to the playoffs, and he did, but he also urged Hill to be ready for the playoffs as well. T-Mac held up his end of the deal, taking another leap in the regular season. His 3-ball that he slowly progressed was now elite at 39% on 6 shots a game. The 6'8" shooting guard was top 3 in 3-point makes on the year at 23 years old. Oh, and he has a 40-inch vertical. He was special, the second youngest to ever average 32 points a game. However, Grant Hill couldn't live up to his end of the deal, leaving T-Mac alone in the playoffs for the third year running, this time an 8 seed against the Pistons as the 1 seed. In spite of this challenge, McGrady eyed the second round, not wanting to be a brilliant but tortured superstar whose team can't advance beyond the opening rounds of the playoffs. It was all coming to fruition in the first 4 games. The defensively elite Pistons had no answer for T-Mac. The 23-year-old dazzled in what had become routine from him. 36 points, 6 boards, 5 assists and 2 steals in the first 4 games to take a 3-1 lead.
Right now, it's the Tracy McGrady Show, folks.
But no more were there 5-game first-round series. This season, the NBA had expanded the 7-game playoff series to the first round. Yet T-Mac, eager for second-round experience, prematurely gave the Magic the edge in this series, up only 3-1 in the series. Words Rick Carlisle would swallow, putting Tayshaun Prince on the cocky McGrady, a move that ultimately changed the series. The 7'2" wingspan of Prince locked down McGrady, who struggled immensely in the following games, unable to back up his large claims of Detroit dismissal in this series. Each lost game thus a gut punch for the Magic, whose sights were already set on round 2. And in Game 7, McGrady had one of the worst games of his career, conjuring 21 points on 24 shots. He was getting all the attention from the league's best defense, carrying as big a load as perhaps anyone in the NBA, but it hadn't affected him in the first 4 games. The better team just won, a painful admission for McGrady, one in which he knew wasn't true when he was up 3-1, dodging the realities of a 3-1 collapse. The cocky and confident McGrady now stared at the floor in dismay, pondering his future and legacy. A 4th round 1 exit for McGrady, 3 in a row with the Magic. This was a final first round exit that stumped the falling Magic, who begun the next season 1-10 as Doc Rivers was fired, and Grant Hill, without surprise, missed the whole year this time round, a team that got so used to losing and could never switch back. McGrady would collect his 2nd scoring title, this time on the worst team in the league. As a result, a season that exposed his previously unrecognized flaws, receiving unparalleled criticism for moping throughout the year, as he even contemplated retiring at one point. And so, ongoing frictions with the Magic's GM marked a required detour out of Orlando altogether. McGrady wanted to win, and knew Orlando wasn't on a path for greatness. The world knew he wasn't a natural leader, an anti-Kobe they called him. Teammates played for him, not went to war with him. Not necessarily a bad thing, but when your best player isn't your leader whose team assumes their personalities, well, the others have to cover up the non-strengths of the star. So McGrady requested a trade to land in Houston for a laughable package of players. But either way, he was focused on one thing, an NBA championship. Alongside him was Yao Ming, like McGrady, a young star, giving him the all-star teammate he never had in Orlando, or at least one that could stay healthy, giving light to projections of a new Kobe and Shaq. But noteworthy was the Western Conference. The Rockets this year were a top 5 defense, with 55 wins as the 5th seed, but faced a 58-win Mavericks squad in the first round. 13 points in 35 seconds was cool.
He's upset with Manu.
Here's McGrady for 3. Shot, Bowen is all over. McGrady, foul is picked up. It's a potential 4-point play. McGrady over Bowen for 3. Yes! Timeout remaining. McGrady for the win. Yes! 12.7 to go.
Like any scoring title was as well. But McGrady was looking to fill the glaring hole in his resume of first round success, but had to do it against a strong Mavericks squad led by Dirk Nowitzki. But he remained confident his team was a contender. Confidence used to propel the Rockets in Game 1 on the road, firmly establishing themselves as threats in the West. The known scoring aspect of McGrady's game overshadowed by his defensive brilliance from Dirk.
Defensively, I'm not going to settle. I'm going to get after you, Dirk. I'm the best player playing against you. It's my day today. Oh my goodness. T-Mac is special.
After posterizing Sean Bradley, McGrady had the chance to steal Dallas's hearts at home for an undeniable 2-0 series lead.
McGrady, 6 seconds, down to 5, down to 4, McGrady for the win! Yes! Tracy McGrady, outstanding, outrageous!
The Rockets and McGrady were reaching their peaks. With Shaq and Kobe broken up, it was the era of Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady. But T-Mac, remembering his cockiness up 3-1 2 years ago, he remained grounded and humble, as the Mavericks took Game 3, in which T-Mac went cold in the fourth quarter. Once again, come Game 4, he faced a similar situation down the stretch. He had 34 points with 3 quarters, momentum you'd assume he'd carry into the fourth, but instead he stagnated. Brick after brick, he went cold, scoring only 1 bucket in the fourth and a turnover to seal the deal. Without T-Mac in the fourth, this Rockets team wasn't good enough to win. They needed him for all 4 quarters, not just 3. You could argue a true superstar would have gotten an extra win in either situation. Just a few more buckets would have done it. So pressure had begun to amount on McGrady. He, more than anyone, needed this win to change his image. Pressure that soon looked insurmountable in Game 5, falling again to the Mavericks to make it 3-2 in the series. Back against the wall, McGrady had one of the great games. 37 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. The do-it-all McGrady had done it all.
You said Tracy McGrady has got to close this game out. He has got to be the Rocket closer. I think he has answered the bell. He has answered the question.
Embracing the drama of first-round demons to push it to a Game 7.
Game 7, I'm hyped. I'm like, bro, we got this.
Hype or not, T-Mac and the Rockets wouldn't anticipate the small ball of the Mavs, leaving the 7-foot Yao Ming defensively useless on the perimeter. Leaking points, McGrady struggled to close down any lead, losing by 40 points, bowing out embarrassingly once again in the first round after leading 2-0 in a series for the second time running. No more ironic than Grant Hill, who played 47 games in 4 years with T-Mac and played 67 games this year and made the All-Star game. One healthy year, just one with T-Mac, would have been enough to not just make the second round, but potentially go further.
You had had these 2 guys play together, there's no doubt they would have came out the East at least 2 or 3 times.
But now in the following year, the overworked McGrady faced a deal of back injuries, even taken out of a game on a stretcher because of severe back spasms. McGrady was only 27 years old, unable to wake up in the morning without pain, thus only playing 47 games on the year, and a Rockets squad that couldn't win a game without him, going 7-28, a testament to his importance on a roster as the Rockets missed the playoffs altogether that season. But they bounced back in 06-07. McGrady led his team like the Orlando days with Yao Ming out for nearly half the year. McGrady reminded the NBA of his talent, with 25 points and 7 assists, leading the Rockets to 52 wins in the strong West. Good for the 2nd seed in the East. Well, it only garnered the 5th best seed in the West. But T-Mac, like great players do, took responsibility before the series had even started. If we don't get out of the first round, it's on me, he stated. There was more pressure on T-Mac this playoffs than anyone. They don't remember the lackluster squads he had or the heroic performances, but the results. And for right or wrong, T-Mac had accrued no results in the postseason thus far. But he began well, manipulating a young Jazz team early in the series. The 2 MVP caliber players urged the Rockets to a 2-0 series lead, their talent undeniable when healthy. But we've seen this story before, up 2-1, perhaps getting ahead of themselves early, heading back to Utah, where T-Mac had back-to-back poor shooting games as the series then evened up, going back to Houston. Just like that, the series flipped on its head, T-Mac once again unable to hold a series lead. But at home, T-Mac thrived, regaining control of the series with a career-high 16 assists for the win. Often underrated is his passing. Years of carrying his team's shot-making blinds the public of a man who should be in a position to play-make, but ultimately never has much of a choice. Either way, a crucial Game 6 was pending. The type of game that T-Mac, wanting to elevate into superstardom, had to win to prevent the uncertainty of a Game 7. But down the stretch, he looked careless, whereby after checking in the fourth quarter in a winnable game, he turned it over to Kirilenko and then conceded the block. 2 plays, summarizing his fourth quarter play of 2 total points. Game 7 now awaited.
Tracy, you think this Game 7 coming up is the biggest game of your career to date?
No. Not at all. I've been in other Game 7s. Why would this be the biggest?
A lot of guys say that to relieve pressure.
For the 3rd straight year, McGrady found himself in a Game 7. The 2 prior had been serviceable, but there was room for a game-winning Game 7 performance. But failing to contain the Utah's Carlos Boozer, the Rockets fell once again in Game 7. T-Mac's 29 points and 13 assists rendered him little blame, but after his 6th first-round exit, and undoubtedly his worst playoff series, all you could do was feel sorry for the man.
I said, this team is going to go as far as I take them, and I tried my best. I tried, man.
Watching the all-time great talent wrestle with the inevitability of his postseason shortcomings. Watching him take blame for catapulting 2 franchises into postseason spots they had no right to be.
I don't know if there's a player in the NBA who is relied upon more individually than Tracy McGrady. I mean, Yao Ming's a great scorer. He averages 25 a game in the regular season, but McGrady has to create almost every play for Houston.
It's just sadly that as the superstar,
you're going to get the credit, you're going to get the blame. That's just how it is. It's not right, it's not wrong.
As hard as it is to accept, with 2-game leads in his last 3 first-round series, you'd expect a talent like T-Mac to close the deal. Entering the 07-08 season, T-Mac's regular season play went without question. At 29 years, he battled through elbow injuries, an ankle injury, and a left knee that sidelined him for 11 games. But when Yao Ming went down amidst the 12-game winning streak, the burden was on T-Mac to salvage a strong seed in the Western Conference. He went on to carry the next 10 games for the Rockets, extending the win streak to 22, and now atop of the Western Conference. But it understandably meant nothing for T-Mac, the playoffs the only focus, this run only putting pressure on the squad come April. However, battling with injuries come the end of the year, and with his all-star running mate out for the year, he stood little chance in this rematch against the Jazz. McGrady, like he'd done his whole career, proved he could put up stats and take a game or 2, but ultimately couldn't stand the tall task of upsetting the Jazz. Once again, McGrady was alone in the postseason, and for the 100th time, his co-star out with an injury. Little did we know that in 2001, the superstar's first-round exit as the guy would represent the first of many in a career of promise that was evidently dwindling by the year. In the off-season, T-Mac thus underwent surgery on his shoulder and knee. In and out of lineup with injuries, McGrady was clearly still hampered by the off-season surgery. A fast break against the Bucks, overwhelmingly telling of a man fighting his own body to get back to a level that's now gone. To go with it, shooting only 39% for 16 points before he went down with a season-ending injury come February. In a fine case of McGrady's luck, the team somehow made the playoffs without him and actually advanced to the second round. How ironic that after carrying 2 dismal franchises for 8 years, they make the second round in a single year without him. No doubt the ship was slowly sinking for McGrady, his time at his peak well behind as of now. He played merely 6 games for the Rockets this year in limited minutes off the bench. before he was shut down by the team so they could explore a trade for him. His tenure in Houston was so promising, but ended before it could ever really begin. The two stars unable to get on the floor at all. A reality that at only 30 years old, when greats are usually in their prime, McGrady could only watch from afar. An MVP candidate from 2 years ago was now a journeyman, bouncing around teams in a bid to stay afloat in the NBA. New York, Detroit, Atlanta. His minutes and injuries remained consistent, and by the 2012-13 season, McGrady found himself in China, playing overseas. But in a final ring-chasing act, McGrady signed with the Spurs right before the playoffs. He played nothing but garbage time minutes, if that, to be fair. So our last memory will be Tracy McGrady, half-heartedly warming up for the 2013 finals. One of the finest players of his generation had finally made it past the first round, but not really. 10 years ago, in his MVP level year, the world expected that 2013 T-Mac would have rivaled the likes of Kobe Bryant for a decade, contributing to some incredible postseason runs. But instead, he sits uncertain of his legacy. No modern superstar had worse teammate luck than Tracy McGrady, a casualty from a bizarre era where overexpansion badly diluted the league's talent pool, so too many young stars were asked to carry inferior supporting casts. And some terrible injury luck sidelined him in his prime. But at least those guys have one playoff run or an MVP to their name. Iverson, the 2001 Finals. Dirk, his 2011 title. Paul Pierce, the 2008 Finals MVP. Tracy McGrady, he's the guy who never made it to the second round. But no one will ever question his talent in and amongst it all.